firecracker and badass, and we're grateful to have her time. She is a producer, filmmaker, branding expert, and sought after public speaker that shares her do well by doing good philosophy on stages around the country. She demonstrates how both companies and individuals can make a meaningful and positive difference in people's lives while fostering their own success in the process. And Amanda also believes that companies must not only identify their brand purpose, but put that purpose into action. Through her work, Amanda has defined what it looks like for brands to truly act as publishers, creating movements through their content strategy. In her most recent demonstration of this, Amanda was the chief brand officer of Deluxe, where the brand challenge was to reach small businesses. And the solution, she created, produced, and hosted their Emmy-nominated series, Small Business Revolution, which streamed on Hulu and was named among Inc. magazine's top shows for entrepreneurs. Amanda is a nationally renowned brand expert, Forbes contributor, and frequent on-camera personality for national news outlets and celebrity interviews ranging from LL Cool J to Peyton Manning. So she talks to a lot of cool people. And that's all while charting an acclaimed career that spans groundbreaking campaigns for brands like BMW, Reebok, and Sony, in addition to her role as an inspiring female executive at Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies like United Health Group, Allianz, General Mills, and Deluxe. She's also extremely generous with her time through board service for the Children's Cancer Research Fund, Make-A-Wish, Children's Theater Company, the Ordway, and many other organizations where she can bring her passion and talents. And she's a local girl to us at Authentic. She lives in Minneapolis with her husband, daughter, and super cute dog. So I'm super excited to stop the bio there. I even cut out many other really incredible, impressive things that Amanda has done to keep her time effective. So she is the real deal, and we're really grateful to have her here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, get us over into Amanda's view, and I'll turn the mic and the camera over to her to say hello and start sharing your slides.
Well, thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be with you today. I think my favorite thing that you said, though, was firecracker and badass. Like, I think I'm just going to add like that. What else does a person really want said about them other than those? So I think I'm going to add, that's just going to be the new bio introduction. I love it. Well, thank you, Jessica. You've been so amazing to work with. And it's so cool to see how well organized this community is. So you're all lucky to be a part of it. And thank you to Jessica for your great leadership in that. Okay, so I'm super excited to share with you what I call the purpose pursuit, which this is my attempt to give my typically our keynote that I go and give at companies in 15 minutes. So luckily I talk fast, and I think I have the right points that I'm going to summarize and share with you today. So the reason I want to talk about purpose with this group is because I think we are all recognizing, specifically post-pandemic, that there has been this shift or change within the world, within how all of us are operating, but specifically within the business world. We're seeing so much more written about this concept of presenteeism. Depending on the source, it's been reported that it's upwards of costing the US economy up to $150 billion a year that employees are showing up to work physically, but not with us mentally or emotionally. And I feel like the solve to that is helping employees see purpose in their work and in their lives. And I think that historically we have thought about that as kind of a soft answer, that's purpose is something that people figure out in their personal lives or in their hobbies or passions, but that doesn't belong in the business space. And I just think, especially again, post-pandemic, people are kind of almost in what I'm calling this purpose slump. I think people promised themselves that they were going to change something about their life, and they didn't. And I think people are ending up in this space of just feeling like they're missing out on living their true purpose. And I think if we invest in helping employees see that purpose in their work, that is our way to engaging our employees. We can't create culture in a boardroom or in a PowerPoint, as you guys know. And so having everybody feel and see that purpose, I think is the answer to this quiet quitting epidemic. So Anyway, so I want to share with you why I think purpose matters so much as a discussion in the workplace. But first, I'll go back in time a little bit. I am from Minneapolis. I'm from here. I was raised in a family where doing good and volunteerism and being a part of your community was a really important part of how we operated as a family. So I went through my whole life feeling like I really wanted to do some sort of good in the world. I wanted to make a difference. I just wanted to do good. And I thought about that from a career perspective. And from a long time, I thought of things like a teacher or a frontline healthcare worker or some of the other things that we right away associate with good. And I was in high school when I was having the classic discussion with a teacher, which is around, what are you going to do next year? What are you planning to do as a career, as a living? And I shared with this teacher that it was a little bit torn because I wanted to go into something that was good. I wanted to do something good in my life and in my career. But I was so drawn to marketing and branding and design and film and production and communications. And I was struggling with that. I'm like, I want to do good, but these other pieces, I feel like I'm good at them and I like them. And he said, without missing a beat, he said, Amanda, if people who want to do good in the world don't go into business, how will the business world ever get better? And how will the business world ever do good? And for me, that's what we now call a paradigm shift. It helped me just see it, completely differently. And that was my aha moment, that I could go into my career and figure out how to advocate for companies doing well by doing good. Could I go through my career and bring goodness into my roles, even if they didn't necessarily read as kind of these good titles. So I spent my career trying to prove that. I worked at ad agencies on a number of different incredible brands like BMW. I moved to the corporate side. I worked at United Health Group, at Allianz, at General Mills. Most recently, I was at a company called Deluxe. I can tell by all the Zoom pictures that you're all too young to know what a checkbook is, but Deluxe invented the checkbook. And when I joined the company, our challenge was how to use our centennial. We were about to celebrate our 100th anniversary. How do we use our centennial to celebrate or to reach, not only celebrate our centennial, but to reach small businesses, which was a focus area of our new products and services. And so I felt like this was the ultimate opportunity to prove this concept that companies could do well by doing good, that we don't need to think about it as in such a binary way that either you're a company that makes money or you're a nonprofit that does good, that there's real magic when those two things come together. And I felt like, so doing well by Deluxe standards would be reaching more small businesses, but what could we do that would be good for small businesses? And so we created a program called the Small Business Revolution, which originally started out as a documentary series where we went across the country and shared the stories of 100 small businesses, all with the hopes to create a movement to really showcase and celebrate how important small businesses are in our communities and in our economy and certainly in our country. And so we broke a lot of ground and got a lot of attention because we were a company that was not just using its centennial to celebrate our own legacy, but we were literally turning the camera around and celebrating the customers that we serve. It ended up evolving into an unscripted reality show that was on Hulu. It was nominated for a few Emmys. In the reality show, we went in and helped small businesses. It was basically a small business makeover show. Each season focused on a different town and a different community, and proving this thesis that if we invest in our small businesses, entire towns can thrive. And for season 6, we brought it home to Minneapolis and St. Paul and featured all Black-owned businesses in 2021. And so at the end of that program, I really asked myself, did we do this? Did we prove this concept that companies can do well by doing good? Doing well by Deluxe standards would have been raising brand awareness with small businesses, as I mentioned. But did we do good for the very community that we served on our way to achieving those business results? And we certainly did on both sides. From a doing well perspective, we ended up reaching 14 times more people than we would have reached if we would have invested in traditional advertising. And from a doing good perspective, we have all sorts of incredible measurements around how these communities and these businesses that we helped through the program have, how their lives have been changed and how the ripple effect within these communities has really been felt for all these years. And so I myself made a leap into entrepreneurship and started my own company 2 years ago and left the corporate world. And one of the things I left to go do is focus more exclusively on my speaking. So I was out talking to companies quite a bit about how they could do well by doing good. And a lot of companies were saying, can you talk about that? But then can you also share something that just makes our employees feel better? Our employees are feeling like they don't see a lot of meaning in their work. They're feeling a little unengaged. We feel like they're a little unengaged, and we just want them back. And so I personally was going through this deep dive into, what does purpose mean? I had spent my whole career proving that brands needed to have a brand purpose and that was important in this, in achieving business results. But what does that mean from a personal perspective and at a personal level? And so I started to really think about, what does that mean to have personal purpose, and how do we bring that discussion into the workplace in a way that is in service to the business and to the mission, and to creating this culture in this place where people can see themselves in the work. And so I started doing an incredible amount of research. I read all the books. I listened to all the podcasts. I conducted hundreds of interviews with purpose-driven leaders. I went on the yoga retreats in the middle of the desert and the leadership offsites. And I became kind of a voracious collector of ideas around, how do we pursue purpose? And what I did with that is turned it into kind of this curation or Cliff Notes version, so that you don't have to read all those books or go to the yoga retreats in the desert unless that's your jam, or listen to all the podcasts. And so I won't be able to share all of the findings with you today, but I have it organized in kind of one main conclusion, 3 ahas that I found in doing all of this, in doing the work to understand personal purpose, and 5 actions. And the one conclusion that I think is just vital is for us to understand. My take on all of it is that, there are 15,000 books written, new titles every year, written about self-help and purpose and leadership. And when you think about it, I think my take is that we have made purpose too big. We have given a capital P to the word purpose, when purpose is not actually something that is out there that you will find one day, but that your purpose is actually something that is already within you. And so my take is that because we have made purpose so big, when we tell our kids this, we say, go live your purpose. We say to ourselves, I should be living my purpose. And because we've made it so big, I think it's too daunting. And the risk of making it so big and so daunting is that we think that it's something we are going to find eventually one day. And by doing that, we can accidentally be sleepwalking through our actual life, through the day-to-day interactions that we are currently having. And so I am a huge evangelist for stopping and realizing that you already have your purpose. How you apply it and how you live that is the next step. But it's really about stopping and recognizing that it isn't this thing that you haven't found yet, but recognizing that it's already something that is within you. And if we can realize that, and if we can make sure our leadership team realizes that, and if we can make sure that our employees and our team members see and realize that, I think it just shifts how we think about it and makes us all feel better, to feel like we are on purpose, that we are here on purpose, that we're in these jobs, in these roles, live in this city, have this house on purpose, just suddenly changes us. That it's not something we haven't figured out yet, but it's just a realization. And so the way I came to this conclusion was through kind of these three ahas. And the first one is that our job is actually not our purpose. And this was hard for me to wrap my head around, especially coming off of such purpose-driven work. I had been doing something that happened to be in a C-suite at a publicly traded company, but had immense and unbelievable meaning to so many people in real life. And so I, for a long time, thought that my job was my purpose, doing this work within these communities and helping these small businesses. And it wasn't until I was outside of that role did I realize that my purpose in life was not that particular job, that how I operated in that job, who I was, how I was actually my purpose. And I was using it through that job. And so helping our employees realize that their job is not our purpose at first sounds like something you definitely want them to realize that they do not need to quit their job to go find their purpose, but that they can see themselves in that work because they're living their purpose within it. And so it's really about two rings of purpose. The first one is really believing this, that who we are is actually our purpose. And then if we can work for a company we believe in with people that we like, that produces a product or a service that we think matters in the world or is somehow contributing to the greater good, that is where real magic can happen. But you actually do not need the outside ring in order to be feeling like you're living within your purpose. The second aha that I had was that how do we get, though, to that second ring? How do we feel that? How do we feel connected to the brand purpose of the company we're working for or running? And it's that we have to trust the process. So I don't know how many people on the call have been whitewater rafting before. I can't see a raise of hands, but if you haven't, don't do it. It's terrifying. It's awful. But the thing that you learn when you are whitewater rafting is that there are two things you need to be listening to at all time, and they come from the leader of the boat. There are times when you need to lean forward and paddle like hell, and there are times when you need to lean back and you need to go with the flow and let the river take you. And if you are leaning forward and paddling when you're supposed to be leaning back, you could steer your boat, just you could steer everybody into the cliffs and death. If you are leaning back when you're supposed to be leaning forward and paddling, you could miss the turn and also rocks and death. And so it is all about being able to feel the river and feel when you're supposed to be doing which thing. And for me, that's something I'll always struggle with the posture of in life. Is this a moment where I'm supposed to be trying to hustle something into existence, the good kind of hustle, like work ethic, doing the work, making the connections? Or is this a time when I'm supposed to just be trusting that the thing I'm seeking is also seeking me and will come into fruition into my life? And one of my big ahas in all of this research is that we just have to trust that both things are true, that sometimes you're paddling and sometimes you're leaning back. You have to show up in the moment when it presents itself, but you also just have to believe with awe that sometimes things come into your life or into your path that you have no control over. And knowing that both things are true is actually a really great way to continue to see purpose in your work. The third aha is that we already know this stuff. Again, when I talk about 15,000 new titles being written, it's crazy how there are different ways of talking about it. And there are different terminologies or structures or frameworks, or there's a different lexicon based on each author. However, we're learning these things about purpose when we were children. Some of them are in the golden rule. And so we already know this stuff. So I'm going to share with you real quickly, maybe just a handful of my favorite things. When I'm typically giving this as a keynote at companies, I go into each of these in depth and we do little exercises and that stuff, but I pulled out a couple that are my favorite. And none of these are going to be things that you have not heard of before or thought of before, but we aren't doing them. People aren't, I don't need to tell you, they aren't feeling great these days. And we as leaders have an opportunity to help them feel better, to help them realize that they have impact and purpose. And they can do that actually through their work right now. And so that was my biggest aha. I kept thinking I was one book away from like this big, like unlocking the total truth of how the world works or how I need to be seeing things. And I wasn't. We already know a lot of this stuff. So, and a lot of them are more about practices. That's what I appreciate for those yogis on the call. I love that it's called a yoga practice because it isn't about ever getting to a place where you're nailing it all the time. It's about having this ability to practice. So when life is coming at you and things are happening, which is what life does, all of this work around understanding purpose and feeling grounded in your truth of your purpose and all of that, that isn't about suddenly just then you walk through life feeling great and everything's peachy keen. It's more that you have the tools and the resources or the rituals or the mindset or the practice of how you practice realigning yourself around positivity and seeing that there is an end goal and trusting that process. And so I have a couple of actions that I think for me have been helpful in reframing things when I'm not feeling like I'm living in my purpose or when I'm feeling like there isn't a great direction. These are things that are really important to reground me in the fact that it isn't about the big P purpose. It's about the little P purpose. And what I mean by that is it's about thin slicing each individual element of our lives, things like minding the ripple effect. So we have an opportunity with each person we talk to, whether they are a member of our team or the parking attendant when we're leaving a parking garage or the person who's helping us book an appointment or our children or ourselves. We have an opportunity to either add energy to someone's day or to take away from it. And we, again, as a society, spend so much time talking about this big purpose in life that we forget that we have an infinite ripple effect at our fingertips at every moment. We get to make the world better one interaction at a time, all of the time, if we see it that way. And so reminding our teams, reminding our leaders that the way we talk to each other goes all the way home. The way we issue a new policy at work has an opportunity to have a ripple effect all the way through. And so really thinking through the ripple effect, I think is an opportunity to think about those thin slice moments. The other thing that I think another action that has been helpful for me is to really understand that finding meaning and calling and purpose is not an intellectual exercise. It isn't something we can figure out by thinking about it really, really hard. Purpose is in being, and meaning comes when you're doing. We are built as humans to be in service to one another. And the way in which we're in service is different by person, but the way we feel purpose is by doing. And that's not always just volunteerism. It can be in our actual job function, but we find meaning when we're actually doing rather than just thinking about it. And the way that we can really get to it is by truly owning our superpower, is to really understand that the things that I'm good at are different than what Jacob's good at, is different than what Rick is good at, it's different than what Jessica's good at. And the way in which we bring that to the table is our ability to live that purpose on a day-to-day basis. So helping our teams see that the things you're good at, you are meant to be good at, and that there is great purpose just in those. I think there's incredible power to recognize and apply then that superpower to the fact that we're a part of an overall team and that it is all about working together to truly realize what your purpose is amongst all of them, and that your perspective is your reality. And so really thinking through the fact that the way we choose to see something is integral to how we feel about it as a result, in the way that positivity itself is actually an active choice. I can see that I'm running out of time, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to kind of rush through this. This is my last point. My last one is that I think contentment is actually a very underrated emotion or state of mind. I think we talk a lot about the pursuit of happiness. And when we really think about what happiness is, it is actually, and what our current, the way we see our life and what we think different aspects of our life should be, whether it's how much money we make or what our house is or what our body looks like or anything. When we think about that, our actual state of happiness lies in the delta between what we think it should be and what we think it is now. And so instead of always pursuing happiness, I think it would be of great value to pursue contentment. The more we see our life as enough, the more we see our family as just perfect, the way we see our roles as just perfect, the way it is now is actually the fastest way to achieve kind of that happiness or contentment. Okay, so anyway, as I mentioned, this is typically an hour presentation, but I just wanted to leave you with that overview, that I think that there is great power in talking about purpose in the workplace. I think there is incredible power in helping people see their purpose, not just in their jobs or in their roles, but that how they operate is really, really powerful. And that it's important for them to recognize that they have impact in the end deliverable that your company is giving, but also they have little p purpose in how they're affecting everyone around them. And I think that is how we truly create a great culture. So as Jessica mentioned, I go out and I give this presentation quite a bit at companies in a much more in-depth way, and we do exercises around it. If you're interested in that, that my website is listed there. Or if you're in the Minneapolis area, I will be speaking at the Luminary Art Center and would welcome you to attend that event on September 26th, where I'll go into more detail on that. And the QR code on the left is the link to those tickets. So thank you for your time.
So much. That was amazing, Amanda. Thank you. I was like trying to be a good time manager, but I would have loved to just let you spend more time on those topics because it's so rich. There's a lot in there. So thank you. I feel like we got a front kind of sneak preview of some of the newest stuff that you're building and how you're supporting other individuals and businesses. So it's a treat to hear you. Thank you. We are going to move into our breakout rooms shortly. So I'm gonna kind of point your brains towards that. And I know some of these topics may be coming up. Some of the ways that Amanda shared this wisdom will be relevant when you're in your breakout rooms with each other. But if you don't mind, please pull your issue back up to the front of your mind. Think about the scarcity of this time. We'll only have about 50 minutes in our breakout rooms together with your facilitators. And so be ready to embrace that scarcity and the diversity of experiences that will show up together in those rooms. And yeah, I hope you come back with some ideas or thoughts or ahas that you're willing to share with the full breakout group afterwards, or the full meeting audience afterwards. So you will start to move into your breakout rooms very shortly. If you are a facilitator, you are going to get invited to a room, and if you could just ignore it and hang back, that would be awesome. We're testing out some faster, easier ways of building the breakout room. So that's it. But again, thank you so much, Amanda. Thanks for sharing your time. And for everybody that missed it or will want to revisit these ideas, we'll have that recording of what Amanda shared and some of the resources that she shared in our recap email tomorrow. So enjoy your breakout rooms. We'll see you back here afterwards.
Oh my gosh, Jess, Amanda, that was amazing.
So good. Okay, so I think facilitators, I see your faces. Thank you for hanging out and not taking this first invite to join your room. But for integrators and other attendees, please jump into your rooms at any time. Awesome. Okay, how are we doing here? Great. Okay. So we may have, Rick, I know we didn't tee you up to be a facilitator today, but you can do that in the future if you want to jump off. Awesome. If you want to join a room to lend your expertise, go for it. But Bill, Scott, Evan, Rachel, and Meg. And from the Authentic team, is 5 a good, where we have 5 rooms, is that right? Okay, awesome. So you should have a good, hopefully not overfilled room, a good number of people that you're chatting with. A quick reminder, you're doing intros, you are documenting or, verbally listing the issues that people bring up, allowing them to rank or rate what they'd prefer to cover first, second, or third. And then just doing a standard IDS session, which I know y'all are very adept at. So also, yeah, just a time check. Sometimes people have asked about how they are a good time steward in the meeting rooms. If you want to put into your phone or, put a timer in your Zoom, if you're capable of that, we'll come back together around the 23 minute mark of the next hour. So you'll have about 50 minutes in your rooms, maybe just shy of that, or 55. And then, yeah, don't hesitate to chat me or reach out if you have any issues or questions while you're in there. Awesome. So I'll have the wonderful Britta and Julia move you into your rooms now. And I just thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It's awesome.
Amanda, thank you. I don't know if you saw my little note. I sent my daughter that exact quote this morning in college. I love that quote.
Oh my gosh, I love that. No, I didn't see it.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
So Jess, we should join now?
Let me get the Julia.
Yep. Yeah.
Join?
You're free to join when you get the notification.
I love
And
that Julia's like off in the sidelines and we can hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
the amazing Julia is making it happen in the background. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good.
You can stop the recording.